Yeah.
Yep, all ready. Thank you.
Okay.
Way to start. Say your names and spell
Good,
them for us.
good morning. My name is Mark Brown, M-A-R-K-B-R-O-W-N. I'm the managing partner of Lane Brown LLC. With me is Associate Attorney Oliver Schindler. You can go ahead and spell your name.
Olivershindler.
Good morning. We are here today because CPS hired a security guard that brutally raped a 15-year-old student at Farragut Academy. This security guard was a known gang member. He had a 20-year arrest record, 16 plus arrests, some for violent crimes. CPS failed to do a comprehensive background check on this security guard and hired him to protect students and teachers and other people at Farragut Academy. By not doing a comprehensive background check, they failed all of those people, and he raped a 15-year-old student. I'm here to take your questions. If you have been provided any materials, you can certainly ask questions regarding that. I also do have a statement from our client, Jane Doe, who is now, as of last week, 18 years old. And I can read that for you if you'd like. What Ramel Campoverde did to me changed everything. I used to be a happy, outgoing teenager. I loved school. I trusted adults. After the attack, I couldn't go back to my school. I missed a whole year because I was too afraid to see my classmates, too afraid to see my teachers, and too afraid to see any of the other security guards at Farragut. Even now, I still have nightmares. CPS hired a man to protect us. They should have known he was violent. They were supposed to protect me. They didn't.
Did the assault happen on campus?
The assault happened after a group let me take you back. The relationship started when Jane Doe was a freshman at Farragut Academy. It started with grooming. It started with compliments about Jane Doe's looks. It started then into texting on private text chats. And then it moved into let's meet, and they met, and then it was let's meet again, and then he gave her alcohol until the point where she became unable to make decisions, and he took her back to his recreational vehicle, and he brutally raped her.
Was he an employee of CPS proper, or did he work for a security company associate?
He worked for CPS proper. He applied to CPS to work as a security guard in 2021. CPS did what we consider a rudimentary background check. They got the basics from the three major law enforcement agencies, FBI, Illinois State Police, and the Chicago Police Department, which just listed his convictions and arrests. But according to CPS policy, they were supposed to do a deeper dive once they knew that he had these convictions and he had these arrests. In fact, CPS hired a white shoe law firm, Schiff Hardin, in 2018 because of an epidemic in sexual assaults and inappropriate relationships between staff members, teachers, and students. And Schiff Hardin wrote a report and promulgated some suggested rules which CPS allegedly adopted. One of those was to go beyond the mere fact of arrest and to look at the police reports, look at the supplementary reports, look at the actual complaints that were made by the victims in those cases, and find out if this person is dangerous and if this person should be hired. They failed to do any of that. They stopped at just receiving the basic list of arrests and convictions. If they had done so, if they had done what we did, which was simply do a FOIA request, in 1 week we received all of those police reports, and we discovered multiple dangerous red flags about Romel Campoverde. We discovered that in addition to those 16 arrests, when we looked into it, we found that there were several violent crimes. There was a burglary charged where he and his gang associates were breaking into cars. Some of his associates were charged and convicted of burglary and went to prison. His was pled down to a trespass. We found other victims that had claimed he chased him with a baseball bat. He tried to rob who he believed or thought was a drug dealer with what he showed the other this alleged dealer was a gun, and he was arrested for that. Now, we don't know why all these arrests were dropped, but it is certainly possible it had something to do with his affiliation and whether or not witnesses showed up in court. But CPS, according to their own rules, had a duty to look beyond just convictions and arrests. They had a duty to go and look at these statements, find out if there is a criminal violence. They had a duty to find out if there was a criminal pattern that was violent. And they would have discovered it had they done that, but they did not. They were supposed to look beyond the arrests and look at the victim's statements to see what Romel Campoverde was accused of. They did not do that. They were supposed to look at the number of arrests over a number of years. They did not do that. They simply said some of the convictions were for cannabis. Again, 6 arrests for cannabis. We understand cannabis is now legal, but it showed a long pattern of someone who was willing to violate the law, as it was at the time.
Now, the Schiff, when Schiff got involved, is that when they started the sexual allegations unit? Is that what you're talking about?
That's correct. So when Schiff got involved in 2018, they had certain recommendations, including the unit, but part of the development from that report was that CPS's background committee was supposed to go beyond and look and do these full comprehensive background checks and not just stop at what they get from law enforcement. Schiff Hardin actually did a follow-up report in 2019, and what they discovered was that CPS was not always doing full background checks, and that is in the 2019 follow-up report. The quote from CPS in there is that they are endeavoring to do full background checks, but what was discovered is that they weren't. And what we know is that there is no one that is supervising the security guards. They are the protectors at these schools. So if a violent person falls through the cracks and is hired, and they believe that they are really unaccountable, who's to protect the students?
Can you tell us a little bit more about, you mentioned kind of how this started with, or the allegation is that it started with grooming, compliments and so forth, and then had they met before off campus, or you know, maybe time of year, time of day for this particular incident?
Sure. Throughout, she was receiving compliments, and the text messages had begun and advanced as that year went on. And then after a school dance, they texted and she agreed to meet with him. That was the first time. And then school ended, and then he texted her again and wanted to meet with her.
So this was summertime?
So it was early, it was in June
Okay.
that this occurred.
Was this June of 23?
Yes.
What happened after that incident?
So Jane Doe, after the rape, she ran out of the RV or trailer and contacted a friend first, told her mother, then she told an official at the school, and then it was reported to the police. Mr. Campoverde was arrested. He's charged with 11 different counts. He is on home arrest, which is interesting and questionable given what the allegations are in this case. His next court date as far as we know, is in a couple of weeks. But it's been over 2 years, and we don't know when there's going to be a trial.
Mark, can I just ask you, you mentioned there, you talk a lot about the shift in the report and the onus on CPS, to do a deeper dive and look into things. But if the initial background searches came back with 16 arrests over a 20-year period, would that not be enough to invalidate a job application for that particular job, for a school setting?
The job of a security guard is to protect students, staff, and other people on the campus. So when you get a background check that comes back with 16 plus arrests and multiple convictions, at the very least, I do agree, I think that should disqualify you. But at the very least, when you get a background check with 16 arrests and multiple convictions, how do you not do a deeper dive? How does that happen? I think CPS's position is that it wasn't enough to disqualify him, and so they hired him. But their duty is to do a deeper dive. Their own policies and procedures, which we provided here today, discuss that and talk about it, as well as the Schiff-Hardin reports, which we also have for you today, that outline that they can't stop at the arrest. They have to go back and look at patterns of behavior, number of arrests over a long period of time, even if it's a disposition that didn't conclude in a conviction. They have to do the deeper dive and look at what are the facts, what are the actual allegations, what are the victims saying in those cases, what are the witnesses saying. And if it leads to a pattern of violent behavior, as it conclusively does in this case, I don't understand at all how they could have hired Mr. Campoverde for a position of trust with students and other people that he's supposed to protect.
In the wake of what has happened here with this particular case, has there been any further scrutiny of security guards at that school or across CPS as a whole?
Well, we in our firm have other cases involving security guards at CPS that are ongoing. No, different security guard, but security guard. We have an open litigation right now in another matter with another security guard. So we haven't seen it in our office, but again, as what we do is we are responding to what our clients are doing, we are responding to what our clients are coming to us with regard to what happened to them. With regard to a full investigation of all of CPS, that certainly is going to be part of this litigation. This is the first step. The first step is you file the complaint, and then we get into discovery, and then we take depositions, and then we find out not only with regard to the failures in doing a comprehensive background check of Mr. Campoverde, but we also will be looking into the greater problem with the hiring of security guards in CPS, given what we know about other cases for other violent crimes, including rapes that have been perpetrated by other security guards in CPS.
Just to clarify, and just for some clarity there, because I interrupted you, you are dealing with another separate case of a security guard within CPS, but not necessarily a target.
Correct.
And then just to add on to that, are you aware or do you suspect there are possibly more victims of Mr. Campoverde, or?
As of this point, we don't know if there are other victims of Mr. Campoverde, but if we learn of others through the litigation process or some other means, we will certainly let you know if that's something you want to know.
And also, just to clarify, so he has been charged criminally in this matter?
Yes, there are
And that's
11
what
pending charges. And we have a list of them here available of the current charges.
And did this case come to you because of the other litigation? I know that's happened in some other cases where once someone files, then people come forward with similar things.
I believe they came to us independently. For the last 15 of the 30 years that I've been practicing, we have really focused on representing child sex abuse victims, and I assume that's how they found us, but I don't know if there was a relation.
And I thank you for sharing the statement of your client. Is there anything else you wanted to share about, has she been able to
counseling. She missed school for a year. She did not want to go back. She was afraid. She went back finally at the coaxing of her parents, who wanted her to finish her education. She did not graduate with her class. She's got to go to school for an extra year at another school that she had to start over in, not knowing any of the teachers or students. She had to leave all of her friends at her other school. It's been very difficult for her. I spoke to her right before I came in to see you all, and she's devastated over all this. It's been a very difficult period of time that I wouldn't wish upon anyone.
Was she able to graduate then?
She is
eventually?
not. She did not graduate with her class. She now has another year of school to complete because she stayed out of school for a year. And will graduate a year late from the other school that she transferred to.
And was this trailer, this RV, was it in the neighborhood? Like where was it?
I don't have the exact location with me. I'm sorry, I don't.
Approximately, like the neighborhood, or?
Yeah,
Was
it
it
was
Chicago?
somewhere.
Was
Yeah, he took her to his RV somewhere in that area of Chicago.
Was that
I don't
at
have a
his-
specific address.
Was that at his home?
Yes,
It was parked at his home.
that's where we understand is that that's where he lived.
Mark, to your knowledge, has he ever worked at any other CPS schools or schools in general?
Of his application to CPS, we don't believe that he worked at any other schools other than Farragut. It is interesting, there was, in his application, there was a request from a different CPS school that he was hired to go work at, who turned him down as an employee. We are not sure if that's because the position was no longer available, or they reviewed his record and said, we don't want to hire him at our school. That's something you have to ask CPS.
So CPS did conduct a background check and knew about his history of arrests. They just didn't conduct a more thorough check. I want to make sure that that's
Sure.
black and white here.
CPS did a background check by getting his criminal history from FBI, Illinois State Police, Chicago Police Department. What they received back is a document that merely lists the arrests and the convictions. Doesn't have any additional information. Doesn't state what the facts underlying it were. It doesn't state anything that the victim told police. You have to remember, in order to get charged and even have a charge dropped, there's a complaining witness that goes to the police. A report is made. The police then arrest after reviewing it. They review it with the state's attorney. There's a charge brought because they have evidence to bring a charge. Then on a number of these violent crimes, he went to court and the cases were dismissed. Why? We don't know for sure. But certainly there's a suspicion that because he was a self-admitted member of the street gang known as the Satan Disciples, and that's in one of the police reports, self-admitted gang member, that may have led to
This history, kind of, even if it was top level knowledge, what they knew about, what did these charges in these cases look like that were dismissed?
CPS, in reviewing the charges that were dismissed on these background checks, know nothing and knew nothing on top of the fact that there was a charge listed and it was dropped. That is all CPS knew. And that's because they failed to do the simplest thing, which is request the police reports underlying it. And another thing CPS was required to do according to their policies was to seek an explanation about these arrests and about these charges and about these victim complaints from Romel Campoverde. And there is nothing in his personnel file, and we were provided it, but we cannot share it with you until the litigation, but we did review it. But there's nothing in his personnel file that shows that CPS requested any statements from Ramel Campoverde or any explanations about any of these crimes or alleged crimes that he was either convicted of or arrested for. They were required to seek an explanation from him according to their own policies, and they did nothing.
When this incident was reported to CPS, did they took any action against Campoverde?
He was, I assume, put on leave and terminated, but too little, too late.
And
That doesn't help our client.
what are you trying to accomplish with this lawsuit?
Well, one of the things that I know that our client wants to do is bring this to light and wants CPS to change their policies, and she wants to be fairly compensated for the damages that have been caused to date. Now she's 18 years old. This happened when she was 15 years old. And one of the things that we know is that as victims of child sex abuse get older, this never goes away. This will stay with her for the rest of her life. And as she gets older, the damages that it causes, it changes and fluctuates over time. So one thing that she's feeling now, which is devastation, may change later into different things, including potentially different mental health diagnoses and other problems. We hope none of that occurs. But we know what the statistics show about what happens to adults who are victims of child sex crimes. And we believe that she should be fairly compensated for the damages that she suffered and the damages that she will likely suffer in the future.
And just to clarify, this relationship happened throughout her freshman year, so 1 year, they worked together 1 year?
Well, it wasn't an entire year because school starts in September. So it started during freshman school year, progressed during freshman school year, until the point where they were texting and he was giving her compliments on her looks and her body. And then it worked into text me on these private text chats and then eventually come meet me.
From the records you got from CPS, I understand their backgrounding process looks at 7 years worth of records. With the criminal cases and the outcomes that you got, were those showing 7 years worth of cases? Was it showing more than 7 years worth of cases? Like, can you kind of elaborate on what exactly it was that they had in hand for that?
Sure. The 7-year policy of looking back 7 years in CPS's policies, that's not actually accurate. Their policies do look back 7 years, but when there's a pattern of arrests over a long period of time, especially that show violent behavior, their own policies require them to look into and look further into the underlying facts of those crimes that go beyond 7 years. There's not a bright line where it's everything after that 7 years or further back from that 7 years is not considered. That would be not only against policy, but it would be reckless. How do you do that?
Yeah, so I mean, did they have more than the 7 years, like in the backgrounding process?
Sure.
Did those come or?
The background process that they did utilize, they had the full 20-year arrest record showing 16 plus arrests. They just failed to take any action further than that to look into the underlying facts for violent patterns and to find out what happened directly from the victim statements and those police reports.
Just to clarify, there's no legal onus on them to dig deeper or to look further. They violated their own policies, right?
Well, CPS's own policies are an indication of what they're supposed to be doing. And that is evidence that they acted in a reckless manner in not going back and looking at his history of violent crimes and arrests. So when you say legal duty, I think they did have a legal duty. That's why we're here.
But it's per their own regulations, right? This was something that developed from the Schiff report?
Well, yes, it developed from the Schiff report that they needed to go back and look at these things, but it was within their own rules.
Right.
You're asking if their own rules are the same as a legal duty.
Like a
And-
criminal, yeah.
Right. Did they commit a crime? That's up to the state's attorney. We're not here to say that they committed a crime. What we are here to say is that CPS acted recklessly in not investigating the background of Mr. Campoverde so that they would discover all of the violence in his history and so that they would consider all of his 20-year history with 16-plus arrests, which led to the rape of a 15-year-old girl that he met at Farragut Academy. Anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, we'll probably just get a few more shots here.
Can we get
Anything
a
you need.
copy of the statement that you read out? Can we get like a-
Yes,
Thank you.
it's right here.
Perfect. Cheers.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking for the, let's see, the actual legal grounds. Oh, thank you, I do. The reckless, just wanna make sure I'm using the same terms that you're using.
Sure.
Um,
Under the law, that a school district is liable in civil cases for willful and wanton conduct, and that's defined as a reckless disregard for safety of, in this case, the students and specifically our client. They had knowledge of an impending danger in Mr. Campoverde, and they recklessly ignored it. That is the civil standard, and that is the case we have brought against CPS.
And then do we think the CPS has been served? Was it filed?
The case was filed yesterday, and we are in the process of serving them. CPS is certainly aware of this case, as we've had discussions with them, and they informally shared his personnel file with us, but it was part of an informal attorney's eyes only process, so we can't share it with you. But I'm assuming it will be made available once it becomes public through the litigation process.
The police report that documents his gang affiliation, is that accessible at all?
Yes, we have it here. We have all the
That's
police
included in
reports here.
documents. Okay,
It's
So there's-
included in what we sent
Great.
you.
Yes, and it's also
And there's
on the
some here,
table.
too, if you wanna take shots of them.
okay.
So there's a police report that during one of his arrests, he told a police officer that he was a member of this street gang. Then there is a later police report which states that he is a documented member. So not only is it the word of the CPD that he is a documented gang member, the report says he's a self-admitted gang member in one of the arrest records.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind pointing that out, which
We
one
will.
it is, to
Yeah,
make sure we
I
get,
couldn't-
make
I
sure we
couldn't
get that.
figure.
We have it here, and
Very
when
good,
we break, we can show it to you.
very good. How are we doing with cutaways?
Yeah, good.
Ladies and gentlemen, are we good?
Does anyone need anything else? Any other questions?
Thanks, everyone.
All right, thank you.
And maybe Oliver, maybe you can go through those police reports and show
Yeah.
them that
Yeah.
language. Thank you.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah, feel free to contact me if you need anything.